What if, hidden beneath the surface, were eerie, almost impossible coincidences, the kind that make you question everything you know about chance? Some say everything happens for a reason. Others believe life is just random chaos. A story full of twists so bizarre, you'd swear they were made up. You don't have to believe in fate. You don't even have to believe in patterns. But let's be honest, we all love a good story, especially the ones that might just be real. Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy, two of the most iconic US presidents, lived a century apart. Yet somehow their lives followed a series of strange, almost unbelievable parallels. Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846, Kennedy in 1946. Lincoln became president in 1860, and Kennedy in 1960. Both led America through turbulent times, and both met tragic ends. Lincoln was shot in Ford's Theater. Kennedy was assassinated in a Lincoln Continental, a car made by the Ford Motor Company. Both presidents were assassinated on a Friday, with gunshots to the head with their wives seated beside them. But it gets even stranger. Each had a vice president named Johnson. Lincoln's was Andrew Johnson, born in 1808. Kennedy's was Lyndon B. Johnson, born in 1908, exactly 100 years later. Even their assassins share odd similarities. John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald, both remembered by 3 names, each with exactly 15 letters. Booth shot Lincoln in a theater and was captured in a barn. Oswald fired from a warehouse and was later caught hiding in a theater. Neither man stood trial. Booth was shot by Union soldiers days later. Oswald was killed on live television, shot by Jack Ruby before he could testify. Coincidence? Maybe. But the pattern is hard to ignore. Violet Jessup was a stewardess and nurse, but what makes her story remarkable is what she survived. In 1911, she was aboard the RMS Olympic when it collided with a warship. The ship was badly damaged, but returned to port. In 1912, she boarded the Titanic for its maiden voyage. She survived the sinking by escaping on Lifeboat 16. Then in 1916, she served aboard the Britannic, Titanic's sister ship. It struck a mine in the Aegean Sea and sank. Violet was thrown into the water. She hit her head on the ship's keel and still survived. 3 sister ships, 3 disasters, 1 woman who walked away from them all. Some called her cursed, others called her unsinkable. Either way, her story defies the odds. John Wilkes Booth is remembered as the man who assassinated Abraham Lincoln. But few know that his older brother once saved Lincoln's son. Edwin Booth was one of the most respected stage actors of his time, far more admired than his younger sibling. In late 1864, while waiting on a train platform in New Jersey, he saw a young man lose his footing, falling between the platform and a moving train. Without hesitation, Edwin grabbed him by the collar and pulled him to safety. That young man was Robert Todd Lincoln, the president's son. They never exchanged names, but Robert recognized Edwin from the stage and later sent him a thank you letter, never realizing how strange that connection would become. Because just weeks later, John would take that young man's father's life. And Edwin, he kept that letter for the rest of his life. 2 brothers, one saved a Lincoln, the other killed one. In 1940, 2 identical twin boys were born in Ohio and placed for adoption separately just weeks after birth. They grew up in different towns, raised by different families. Neither knew the other existed, but the similarities in their lives were beyond belief. Both were named James, not by their birth parents, but by their adoptive families, completely independently. One became Jim Lewis, the other Jim Springer. Both had a childhood dog named Toy. Both enjoyed carpentry and mechanical drawing. Both pursued careers in security, one as a guard, the other part-time as a deputy sheriff. Each married a woman named Linda. Later both divorced, then both remarried, women named Betty. Even their sons were named James Allen or Alan. Same name, just a different letter. And it didn't stop there. They drove the same model of car, smoked the same brand of cigarettes, vacationed at the same Florida beach. Their handwriting, speech, and mannerisms, nearly identical. They finally met at age 39, after Jim Lewis began searching for his twin. The reunion was surreal. It was like meeting yourself, living a life you never lived. Later, they joined a study on twins raised apart. Researchers found a few differences, quirks, and personality shifts. But the overlap, still staggering. Coincidence, genetics, choices they believed were their own, but maybe weren't random at all. In the world of high-stakes poker, fortunes are won and lost in a heartbeat. But in 1858, one game ended in more than just financial ruin. It ended in blood. Robert Fallon sat at the table, deep into a high-stakes game. The pot? $600, an enormous sum for the time. He was on a streak, winning hand after hand, until someone accused him of cheating. What happened next was swift and deadly. One of the players drew a gun and shot Fallon dead on the spot. The others were stunned, but the game wasn't over. With a fortune still on the table, they needed someone to take his place. So they brought in a young man, just passing through. He sat down in Fallon's seat and started playing with Fallon's money. Incredibly, he turned that $600 into over $2,000. Then the police arrived. Fallon's killer was arrested. And the money? It was ruled to go to Fallon's next of kin. That's when the twist hit. The young man who'd taken Fallon's seat was Fallon's estranged son. Neither had known the other was even in the same city. Fallon had abandoned him years before, and now, without realizing it, the son had stepped into his father's seat, played his hand, and claimed the very fortune his father once gambled away. He sat down to play a hand, not knowing it was already his. In 1838, Edgar Allan Poe wrote a dark, disturbing novel called The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. In it, a group of shipwrecked sailors, starving and desperate, draw lots. They kill and eat the cabin boy. His name, Richard Parker. It was fiction, until it wasn't. In 1884, a real ship, the Mignonette, sank in the South Atlantic. The survivors, stranded and hopeless, made the same choice. They killed and ate the cabin boy. His name was also Richard Parker. Poe wrote a shipwrecked horror, but no one expected it to set sail in the real world. And those were just a few of the strangest coincidences ever recorded. Were they truly random, or is there something deeper at play? Patterns we haven't figured out yet. Either way, they remind us how unpredictable, eerie, and sometimes even poetic reality can be. If you enjoyed this dive into the unexplained, there's plenty more waiting, because you never know. Your next click might lead to the next strange twist.